Hi everyone, my name is Nicole, and today I wanted to film this video to share with you how to deliver a strong and winning pitch. So I actually participated in the Seed Finals last year and really enjoyed the whole process of all the workshops. I know Kevin did a great workshop on crafting a story, and I kind of want to add on that for your pitch, as well as the financial workshops, and then ultimately, obviously, the pitch competition. So I pitched my startup, Apovo Health. We are an AI patient health navigator for cancer patients. And I actually went into college not knowing anything about entrepreneurship. My first experience was through the Social Entrepreneurship Learning Lab. And then I later went on to a couple of accelerator programs, such as the Longhorn Startup Lab at Capital Factory, as well as the Kendra Scott Accelerator Program. And I'm also currently in the 40 Acres Founders Program. But throughout this whole process, UT has been super supportive. They've given me so many resources, and I also hope to share some of them and my experiences with you. So, the most important thing to remember about a pitch is that it is a story. So, being able to tell your story succinctly and clearly relate your problem to your audience is very important. Actually, within the first 10 to 30 seconds, your audience, in this case, your judges, need to clearly understand what is the problem you're solving. So, if you are creating a more technical solution in biotech, that might be difficult to explain, you want to frame your problem and solution in a way that anyone can understand. Because if they can't understand the first minute of your pitch, the rest of the 9 minutes will be very confusing for them. The way you kind of want to practice this is with your current pitch, you want to ask someone who's never heard of your company before, not in your problem space, and just pitch your 30-second to a minute pitch in front of them. And then ask them after your pitch, like, do you understand what exactly I'm solving and a good idea of what my solution is? So again, in the first minute of your pitch, the most important thing is to clearly define your problem. Uh, Things that you can kind of do to help you with that is use data or statistics. So how large is your problem? Like for me, 1 in 3 Americans will eventually get cancer in their lifetime. So that's a great statistic to put on your pitch deck. How costly is your problem? Again, these are just really good ways to immediately connect with the judges that this is a real problem, this is how big it is, and this is why I'm solving it. The last thing I'll say about your problem is that if you have a personal connection, or if you can show the problem in a way that you're like kind of in a perspective of the user, like a lot of people start with meet Anna or meet this person. This is the way that she experiences the problem. That kind of can contextualize the problem if it is a little bit more difficult to understand. The next thing is to clearly connect your solution to the problem. So it's great if you have images or videos or screenshots of whatever you've built, or maybe an image of like your user using your app to show what is the value that your solution creates, highlight what makes your approach unique. And then again, you want to show numbers when effective. So how, like, if there's past research showing that a similar solution to yours, maybe similar, and then you make a twist on it, but a similar concept of your idea was able to decrease cancer recurrence rate by 20%. I don't know, something like that. If you can connect research and back up why your solution will work, this is a great way to show how your solution solves this problem. I will say, as founders and entrepreneurs, it's really easy for us to spend a lot of time on both the problem and solution slide, and then not give as much time on all the other important aspects of your pitch. So I think a good rule of thumb is spend no longer than a minute on your problem that's already pushing it. And then on your solution, again, spend no longer than another minute. And you want to save the rest of the time to really explain what makes your solution different compared to your competitors, the market size, your go-to-market strategy, your team, and so on. So the next thing we want to talk about is market research. So I think there's a specific section in the rubric that talks about the TAM, SAM, SOM size. There's also pricing, your revenue projections. Like, competitive advantage. As a pre-revenue company, I know it's really difficult to get these numbers, but there are ways for the TAM SAM. Most judges that I've talked to for feedback have talked to me about using the bottom up approach instead of the top down approach. What that means is instead of saying that the cancer care market is $100 billion, I'm making up numbers, and Apovo Health can realistically capture 1% of that, they want to hear we are pricing our product at $10 per user per month, and we're able to reach X amount of users, multiply that by 12 months in a year, and then you get your annual recurring revenue. So that's just something to keep in mind. Have clear reasoning behind your numbers. Again, it doesn't have to be exact, but be able to explain how you came up with those numbers. And the way you want to display this is through your appendix slides at the end. So when you're the first go through of your pitch, you're probably not going to have time for all the detailed explanations. You can show a bit of calculations on your slide, but you don't want to make it too overwhelming. So you can put all this at the end. I don't think there's a limit to the number of appendix slides at the end, but more often than not, after your pitch, judges will ask you, how did you come up with your $10 billion market size? And so if you have your appendix slides ready, it'll be really easy to refer to them when those questions arise. Same thing with pricing. For your competitive advantage, there are multiple ways to display this. Some people use that 4-quadrant square, and then on each axis is a different type of quality. For example, pricing is one, maybe like quality is another, and then you'll show different companies on each of the quadrants. You can search this up online and let me know if you have questions about this. There's another way you can display this where you have different rows and columns. So either the rows can be certain features that your product offers. Sorry, I don't know what happened. And then the columns are your competitors. And then you can put like an X or a check mark for each of those matrices squares. Again, you can search this up. There's multiple ways to display this. I think it really depends on what your company is offering, what type of solutions that you're giving to display this. But I would look into the different ways of how you can show your competitive advantage. This is a picture of my designer, Raina, and my team, but I put a gloomy face because this is not the most fun thing to do, but it is important. The next slides you want to talk about is the go-to-market strategy. So this basically means how do you plan on turning your idea/solution and bringing it into the market. It's important to do research about your sales and distribution strategies and sales cycles. So for example, in healthcare, if you're going B2B, there's probably a lot of regulations that we have to go through. So we might need to conduct pilot studies. It might take at least a year to contract with big companies like insurance companies. So when you're putting out your timeline, and let's say I said that we'll be able to push the product in 6 months or even 3 months, then the judges with a healthcare background are looking at that being like, no, like that's not a realistic healthcare cycle. So that can bring a red flag to your pitch. And so it's really important to do this research, and you want to be ambitious with your timeline because obviously you want to push your product out, but not unrealistic. Again, backing it up with the research you've done. And yeah, so this slide, the team slide, I usually put it at the end. Some people also put it kind of in the beginning when they introduce their problem and solution. It depends on how you want to go with this, but it's really important to explain why you and why your team, because most of us are pre-revenue. So a lot of the numbers that you put on your slide deck aren't really backed up by your company's numbers. So the judges are mainly looking at you and why do I want to put my money into you? And how you want to explain this is your passion, your background, the amount of traction that you have, even if it's not revenue, maybe the number of users on your app, or the number of partnerships that you've had so far, or even the number of customer discovery interviews that you've had, just to show some backing into everything that you're saying in your pitch. This is a picture of my co-founder and I love my co-founder, Thulia, and my team, and my team again here. But it's important to highlight your team's background, you and your co-founder's background, and then also if you have any advisors that would bring valuable insight to your company, that's something to highlight as well. I think this is probably the most important slide in this video, but preparing will be the most important thing ever. So when I was part of the Longhorn Startup Lab, we had the opportunity to pitch every week. We had to deliver a 2-minute pitch in front of our class and mentors. And every time I would change up my pitch a little bit just to see, what was the feedback? How did I start off with the pitch and how did I end off with the pitch? And I think it's important to kind of tweak your story a little bit if you want to experiment. And I would practice in front of the mirror for like 2 hours before going every day. I would record myself presenting just like I'm doing now and then rewatch it to see what are the words that I always stutter on, or what sections do I spend the most time on that I think I can cut off. So something that you can do is really important is timing, knowing like I spend a minute on the problem, maybe I need to cut that down to 40 seconds and so on. But if you're spending a lot of time on like the first problem and solution sections and you're not fitting enough time for all the other sections of the rubric, that can really set you up to not success. And so you want to watch when you're watching back on your videos or asking for feedback, take note of how fast you're talking. What are the sections you can slow more down on, and also your inflection points in your tone, because at least I sometimes talk a little bit monotonic. Something else that I noticed with myself that maybe you can think about when you're pitching is in the beginning, I start off as really energetic. And then towards the end or like middle section, I kind of get tired and I talk maybe a little bit monotonic, slower, not very engaging. And then at the end again, I kind of pick that back up, especially when the timer is running. It's like almost time to end the pitch. So I would watch that. And the only way to really understand is rewatching yourself and be critical of yourself when you're pitching. Again, you can also practice in front of your team, practice in front of people who've never heard of your venture before, and ask them if they were clearly able to understand what exactly you're doing. And yeah, with practice comes confidence. So once you're able to fluently get your pitch across, you will be pretty confident for the competition. Something that I will say that people have asked me in the past is, do you like memorize a script? I would say like this largely depends on you, but in my opinion, it's not very good to memorize a script because on stage, you don't know what's going to happen. And if you trip up on one word and you only remember like, oh, this word comes before this word, which comes after this word, then you're not going to be able to know exactly like, what do I have to say after this? And then some people have like stage blank, like they just stand there and don't really know what's coming to, don't know what to say next because they memorize the script. So what I do is I have like maybe 3 to 4 bullet points in my head. So if I see a slide, I'm like, okay, this is exactly what I need to talk about, and let me format my sentences, my paragraphs around that. And again, everything comes with practice, and the way that you present your pitch kind of comes with practice. And I also will say that when you are reading, kind of memorizing a script, it can come off across that you are reading in your head when you're saying your pitch. So practice different strategies, ask your audience or whoever you're pitching to, hey, do you think I was reading off of something, or did I kind of give that impression? And then you want to modify your pitch around that. I think this is kind of the same slide as last slide. And yeah, so good luck. I really enjoyed this competition and I really hope this video was helpful for you. If you have any questions about any of the slides or want to connect for pitch practice, I am very happy to help you guys. There were so many mentors that were supportive for me, so I really hope to give back to the community. This is my email if you have any questions, and then please connect with me on LinkedIn. And yeah, I wish the best of luck for everyone, and I'm super excited to hear y'all's pitches.